we will start recording the lecture. The first function that needed in solving any engineering economy problem, that is the formulation. The formulation follows the formula here that in the slide, when it says the general form of x slash y I percent n. Let's break these down. First, let's know how we read this parenthesis. We read it x given y at interest rate for the time period n. In the definitions here, the x represents what is the unknown, and y is representing the known, and I is the interest rate, and n is the period. In chapter 3, yes, we have talked about that. All these, it's an extra resources. You need them just for practice. Here we are following, we have explained that, yeah, Abdulaziz, in the previous lectures about the slides, and you will find extra information. If you look to the textbook, definitely you will find even further information. So let's continue here with the standard notation for the interest factor that you needed to do any formulation for the engineering economy problem. For example, the parenthesis here, it says the bracket f given p at 6% for 20 years. This is how it's read. It is saying that in the sentence, f that's needed to be known, that means you have to find f, and you have given the p when the interest rate is 6% and the number of time period is 20. Let's look to the tables that I have uploaded them on the Edmodo. So I will open the table here. Okay, this is the table. You have them on the Edmodo. And when you scroll down, the table starts from here. Before that, it was the formulas for each of these formulation. Now, when we are looking for the f given p, you will have all these type of formulation you will deal with in this course. And it has the values for that formulation, and here the number of period in this column, and at the top of the page you will see the percentage that used for this formulation. So for example, you need me to zoom it in. Let's see. If you open the table from the Edmodo and follow with me, if you cannot see the screen here, I already did the zoom in. It is very close here. I'm not sure how you see it in your screen, but if it's not available or not clear, you can download the table from the folder of the Edmodo and open it and follow with me from your own desktop or laptop. Okay? So first thing that you have to do is finding the percentage or the interest rate that requested. In our case, we had 20, so we scroll down until we find 20. Okay, this table for the 18, I believe there is another table. Yes, there is another table. Let me just open the other tables that has 20. Yeah, I found it. Now I will upload it here to the screen. This one for the other example. Okay, this is 20. You can see it now on the screen. On the top corner of the page, you will see the percentage. You have three files for tables. You use them all, depend on the percentage that needed in the question. We collected all the tables that have all the percentages that may appear in the exams or the questions. So yes, on the top corner of the right page, on the right corner on the top of the page, there is the 20%. That is the percentage was needed. And in the slide was showing that you have f given p for 6 years. F given P, it is stated here at the first column on the left when it says a single payment. So you see that F given P simple is given already here. And then you count the number of years for 6 years, and then you find the value is 2.986. That is the value for the future when you have the present and the interest rate is 20 after 6 years. This factor, you multiply it with the money, the cash value of money, you have it to convert that value into the future. So, for example, I have 100 riyal now, and I want to find it 6 years later with the consideration of the interest rate per year at 20%. So all what you have to do is to multiply the 100 with the 2.986, and then that will be the value of the 100 riyal at year 6. So you find the future from the present. It could be the vice versa, means that the opposite. It could be I want to find the present from the future, considering that the percentage is the same, 20% and 6 years. So I want to find the present from the future. So you have to multiply with this number, which is P given F, because P, which is the present, the one you have to find, and the F is the one that you have given. And you multiply it with the 0.3349. We will come to the part where is the A given P and P given A and A given F and also F given A. For those two columns on the right of the page, P given G and A given G, those are not going to be included in this semester, even though you will find them in the slides online. This is for your own reading, but I'm not going to bring them in the exams or the quizzes. So far is okay? You have questions?
It's clear, Doctor.
Professor, how do you study it?
Before we move on, any questions?
Professor, can you hear me? Hello?
Okay, on the mic. Okay, who is going to ask? تفضل. Ali. علي. اوكي، صالح تفضل. صالح.
دكتور قاعد اتكلم، سامعني ولا؟
الآن أسمعك. يس.
اوكي، هذه دحين تكون معطيات الاختبار ولا كيف ندرس هذه؟
Okay, we'll come to that. The tables is already you have them, and it will be with you in the exam. And when you have to find a value, you just go and look to the table and find that value and use it to solve the problem. Now we are just showing you how to find that value from the table. When we solve an example, a complete example, you will see how that tables is used. And yes, the tables is with you in the exam. Okay?
تمام، زي مثلا الجدول الدوري في الكيمياء مثلا.
Yes, exactly. Like the periodic table. And if you look to the other file that I have shared earlier, who has any other questions before we move on? Asal, 61. Okay. Anyone has any question?
Sorry, doctor, I don't mean that.
Fine. Okay.
Sorry.
طيب. خلاص. So please turn off your mic if you are not going to have any questions, so we don't disturb the others. Let me show you one thing that I would like to explain it here. Yes يا علي. مش معطى, is not معطى. الجدول you have it already in the Edmodo. Go and download it, print it, and have it next to you in the exam. Here you can see this table that where is the formulas. Okay, these formulas where is the values came from. So if we are not going to use those tables, we are going to use these formulas, but the tables make your job easier, so you have the exact value calculated for you. Otherwise you were going to use these formulas to find f given p or any other formulation. Okay. For the, as I said, the p, all that related to the gradient g, you don't have to worry about them for the exams. You can read them only for your own reading in the extra material. You have it online. قوانين, formulas يا حازم. You can download the file and you can see the formulas. It's already zoomed in. You can zoom in from your screen, or you can download those files from the Edmodo and you can follow with me here. Okay, so let's go back to the slides. You have all these files on the Edmodo. Okay, going back. Now, this is the cash flow that we have talked about in last lecture. In the cash flow, you may have different values appear on the cash flow. The questions usually comes in a way, especially for this chapter, to find the value at a certain point of time. At a certain point of time. For example, if I have the value of money here at year 1, I may ask you to find it for me at year, let's say 10. On the other hand, the value it could be at year 20, and I may ask you to find it at year 1, and so on. So the value of money change over time, and the questions ask you to convert it over time using those formulation or the tables that we have explained. We will solve examples to have things clear. This is one of the examples. Show you that we have a cash flow here. It is about 10 years in the cash flow from year 0 until 10. And you have a value. Who said this is inflow or outflow? The 600 and year 0. It's inflow or outflow? Let's review that. Did you study the last lecture? Outflow. Good. أحسنتم. ممتاز. الله يعطيكم العافية. Yes. So 600 is outflow, and 300 also it's outflow, but it's year 2, and 5, the 400, it is outflow at year 5, and then give you the interest rate is 5%, and then there is inflow arrow here at year 10 with a symbol of future equal the question mark, which means that he wants you to find the values of those three cash values, how they are equivalent at year 10. So what we do, we convert each one of them to year 10 to find the value at year 10. Remember, when we said the value of Riyal, you recall this from the first lecture, the value of the Riyal 50 years ago compared to now, we all agreed that it is different. Okay, what is the value of this Riyal today compared to the 50 years ago? This is exactly what you are trying to do here. With the consideration of the interest rate that is given, you want to find the value of the 600 at year 10 and also the 300 at year 10 and also the 400 that in year 5 at year 10, and then you can add them together. Why we can? This is one of the questions that come to your mind. Why I don't add them here, the 6, the 300, the 400 together and then convert them? Okay, they are placed in a different years. We cannot add kilogram with gram, right? We have to convert them both to gram or to kilogram with the same exact unit, then we can add them all together. So what is the unit here is the time. Since they are placed in a different time, 5, 2, and 0, we cannot add them like that. We have to convert them at a unified time, which is, as the question says, it's year 10. So convert them all to year 10, and then there you can add them because they are having the same unit of time. So how we do that? We go to the tables, and that is the first the first action that you need to know or to do in the engineering economy definition that we have talked about is the formulation. You have to do formulation. The formulation here, to convert the 600 from year 0 to year 10, you have to do 600 multiplied with, and you open the bracket and you write the bracket that we have explained here in this slide. Sorry, that is the one here. Okay, and you follow the same formula. Now, what is the things that you have? The 600 is the 600. Is it present or future or annual? It is a single value placed at year 0, and year 0 represents the present comparing to year 10. So is that a present or a future value, the 600? Present. ممتاز. حتى you can just write P in the future. When I ask things like that, you can just write P or F or A, because those terminologies, as I said, we will use them over and over. So good, that is a present value. Now, the 600 that is known, it is present, and the requested, as it says here in the cash flow, is the future. And the formulation says you start with the thing that you know, you don't know, and then you put slash, and then you write the thing that you know. And how we read it? X given Y. What is the one given? All we agreed that the present is the one that given, and what is the one unknown is the future. So we say F given P for the interest rate 5 for how many years? Now, to find the years, you count the number of years until you get 10, which is 10 years. Okay, so F that is unknown and the present is known, so we read this F given P. F given P, يعني I want to find F and with the given P that I have in the question. And 5% is the I, and the N equal 10. Now we move on to the 300 that placed on year 2. Again, how we convert it to year 10? we do the formulation for the converting that to the future, in a meaning that is the year 2 or the 300, is it a future or present compared to the year 10? It is present. But if I ask you, is the 300 a future value or a present to year 0? You are going to say, no, the 300, it's a future compared to 0, but is present compared to 10. Why? Because it's previous than the year 10, and it is a future compared to year 0. Good. I see here all students, they are following me. That's great. 300, then you open the bracket, f given p again for 5%, and then you count the years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's mean you have to place 8 here. I will leave you the 400 to do it yourself, to make sure that you have understand that. Then you go to the table to find those bracket value and multiply them with the cash value. So let's start with the first one. F given P, 5% for 10 years. Let's open the table. Someone write the formula here, the formulation in the textbook, sorry, because we will need it now when we open the table, because the screen will go away. So write these formulations on the textbooks or the chat box, and we will use the table now to find them. Okay, so 5% year 10 F given P. طيب نواف, question, just give me until we answer this part and we will answer the questions. Tables. So we go to the table. Okay, thank you, Nasser, Faris. Okay, now a question. I'm using the right table or no? This is to make sure that you don't do a mistake. I'm using the right table? No. Why? Because when you look to the percentage here, it is 3 and you have to use 5. So we move on in the file until we get to 5%. This is just to make sure that you know how to use the tables. ممتاز. طيب. Now this is 5%. And if we go in the chat box, Nasir, he wrote the formulation. F given P for 5%. Now we are at 5%. And we go to the F given P for how many years? 10. So 1.629. 1.629. You multiply it with the 600 to get the value of the 600 at year 10 with the consideration of the 5%. And for the other one, did you write the remaining or no? You wrote only one. Okay, if we did one, okay, for 8 years, it will be 1.477. The F given P, 5%. Tier 8, 1.477. أحسن. So let's go to the slides here. Yes. Okay. خليها تفتح عندكم. Okay. Let's zoom out. So this is 1.628, where it came from. We all see that from the table. and also the 1.477. Also, we saw how it came or where it came from. The same applied for the remaining 1.27. So you just multiply those with the value of money, and then you add them all together to get the 1931.06. That is exactly the summation of all these values appeared from year 0 to year 5 at year 10. So the value of the 600, 300, and 400 respectively here in the cash flow, how much they worth at year 10, they worth 1931. Okay, now let's go to the questions you have اللي كانوا بيسألوا. تفضلوا. في الجدول اليمين واليسار. طيب let's go back to the table and see. Tables. Okay. طيب محمد عبد الغني, where is the question? Please can you maybe use the mic to ask me يعني exactly what do you mean by the right and left here? We use the f and given f given p. So what is the right and left? Can you speak up? صوتك شوية ترفعه, ماني سامع. صوتك واطي شوية. محمد سامعينه؟ يمكن المشكلة عندي. محمد أنا سامع صوت واطي، هل أحد سامعه؟ لا مو مسموع، مو واضح. طيب يا محمد الصوت مو واضح. لو ممكن تشوف المشكلة يمكن عندك في المايك from the laptop ولا الديسكتوب، وناخذ سؤال ثاني عبال ما أنت تشوف المشكلة هذه. أحمد تفضل يا أحمد.
الله يديك الصحة والعافية دكتور، بس عندي سؤال في السلايدات الحين. بعد ما طلعنا 600 وطلعنا العدد حق الاف تو بي من الجدول، اضربها في 5% في العشرة في العشر السنين كذا صح؟
لحظة تضرب العشرة 5% we don't multiply the percentage, we use the value of that percentage directly with the value of money. يعني هنا was one. لا فين السلايد؟ wait. طيب the 600 that the value here placed in the cash flow. ال 1.6289 هذا الكونفرتر. خلينا يعني معانا هنا طلاب electrical they like that. This is like a محول كأنه transformer. Okay, so this converter 1.628 يحول لنا 600 to the value at year 10. You don't use the percentage here anymore. Here this is a formulation, you don't multiply those يا أحمد. Those are representing.
يعني دكتور العدد اللي طلعته من التيبل هو يرمز ل اف تو بي لل 5% في العشر السنين كده صح؟
ايوه بس بالضبط، احسنت زي كده. احمد واضح قبل لا ننتقل للسؤال الثاني؟
تمام دكتور. ودائما دائما في الحسبة اجمع كل البريزنت اللي عندي صح؟ دائما لما في السؤال اجمع كل البريزنت اللي عندي، يعني بالنسبه للزيرو واللي 2 years واللي 5 years صح كده؟
Depend. Now this is the question. It is asking to find the future and those considered to be present compared to that one. So you convert them to the same exact year needed in the question. بعدين you add them. حنشوف حالات scenarios ثانية. It will open your mind to different scenarios and different ideas. ف spare with
شكرا لك
us.
دكتور.
طيب خلينا ناخذ الأسئلة الثانية. بس محمد نرجع للسؤال. محمد دكتور ما خلينا لا يا محمد, when I say that about the right and left, okay, I will explain it again here. Just give me. طيب يا محمد, هاي ركز معاي الجميع طبعا. When I say this right side of the table, when it says B given G, A given G, anything related to G, gradient, we refer to the G as a gradient. The gradient, it is covered in this course, but is for your own reading. I'm not going to cover the examples. If you want to see the examples and the explanation of the gradient, there are in the slides on the Edmodo, you will find them. But here is the thing that I've always talked about, how the things are different from what I present here to the things you have online. In the things you have online, this is for the all material you have in this chapter. The chapter contains many sections. Some of those sections I leave it for your own reading. I don't bring them on the assessment. Assessment means exams, quizzes, or projects, or whatever that I'm using to assess your understanding. So this is for your own reading. You may use them in the future. And why I didn't use the gradient here in this class, because it is rarely to be used in real life. So I'm focusing on the things that more practical to the real life, and the things that I don't see it that comes often. So I leave it for your own reading.
دكتور
طيب questions. صالح, تفضل يا صالح.
دكتور ريا، معليش انا النت عندي قطع في البدايه. كيف افرق يعني كيف اعرف اذا بي في البدايه واف في النهايه ولا العكس ولا اي بي، ولا ايش الفرق بين ايش هذه؟ ماني فاهم
الفرق بين ال A وال B. طيب خلينا نشوف the next example. إذا الإكزامبل الجاي لسه مو واضح معك, I will try to explain it again.
اي بس كيف احدد اذا انها البي اول ولا الاف اول، والعكس كيف يكون من اليمين لليسار اليسار لليمين؟
طيب okay, that's already here in this slide. When خلينا open the slide. The slide here explain the formulation. Start with the things that you want to find, which is x here in the formula. Al slash, we read it as a given. Then the letter that after the slash, we call it the things that you have already given, known. Okay, so you start with the unknown and then the known, بعدين the interest rate, بعدين the number of years. So in this example here, if we have to find it, then we have given the P, which is the present, and the interest rate is the 6% and number of years is 20. Also, the lecture is recorded. When you go back later after this class, read the part and get it further, so we don't go back and explain it again. But let's take the questions that is for things that يعني we have not covered it. حازم. طيب, why the years being different from the P and F? Okay. فين اختلفت؟ We didn't. طيب, ممتاز. فهمت. جميل. طيب, let's move on to examples. Here I want you to just to look to the definition about the uniform series, the shifted uniform series, and I go to the examples because the examples for me explain better than those categories. يعني you will see in the even in the extra material you have online different names: shifted uniform series, shifted uniform series with a single value. And يعني I see it makes things more complex to the students, and they think that they are different in terms of how to solve the problem. I will show you how you deal with, regardless of those names, how you solve any cash flow problem for chapter 2. Just read this slide. I will give you the first two slides here, and I will start with the example here that placed, and I will, when I explain the solution of that example, I will come back to those explanation. I will give you about 2 minutes for reading, and then I will start with the example. In the example, I will explain what is given here, but in the solution. Okay, going back to the example here. When you look to the cash flow, look to all the values here in the cash flow that are a value of money. You can change them and manipulate with them as you want. For example, I can place 1000 riyal from year 1 to year 8, and I want you to find the equivalent of those all values at year 10, 9 or 10. On the other hand, I can place a value here at year 10, and I want you to find it at year 0. Or I can find a series of values, يعني equal values, 50,000 like here, and there is a one single value at 2,000 at year 8, or at year 5, or even at year 2. Any values appear in the cash flow, we have just to follow those rules to convert them, and I will explain those rules. If you understand those rules, then you can change any value of money over the time without no hassle. Okay, what is this rules? The main important rules that you have to understand, that the one I ask you to read, and hopefully you read it, this rule. So please highlight this slide, and it is very important to understand what is the meaning here and what they want to say here. If you have values, exact values of money, we have agreed those, we call it annual. Like here, it is 10,000, that is from year 2 until year 6. And if you want to find the value of that 10,000 over those years at any year previously, you have to make sure that to follow this 1 and 2 rules. P given A, it is always you have to go back 1 year previously. If you have annual and you want to find the present, you cannot go and skip a year in the middle. So if I want to find P0, I cannot go without finding P1 first and then I go to P0. Why? Because this is sum of values, sum of equal values from year 2 to 6. First, you have to convert them to a single value, okay? And that's what you do here first. And then you can find them at any time previously with no problem. But if you want to find the future of that annual values, go again here to the slide, and it says, remember, when you're using F given A or A given F is always at the same year. And when you use P given A or A given P, always you are 1 year ahead. Highlight these two sentences here, and we will see them in the example. Even if you don't understand them now, we will see an example now, and we will explain it step by step, even if we spend this lecture or next lecture until you master that concept. So you don't have to worry now, but highlight this because you will use them later when you study. Let's see the example, how we do that. Here the example says, find the present at year 0 in this cash flow, and you have the I equal 10%. The values placed from year 3 until year 10 is $50 or $5,000. They are equal, but on year 8 there is $2,000 in addition to the 5,000. So there is a 5,000, but there is also $2,000. How we convert those values to year 0? Now pay attention here. Is the present placed just before the year 3? No, the question asks you to find at year 0, and there is a gap, year 1 and year 2. You cannot convert those values, the annual, to year 0 directly. However, you can convert the 2,000, the single value, at year 0 with no problem, as we did previously in the future example, the example of the F given P. ليش? Because this is a single value. The single value, you can move it around the cash flow wherever you want, as long you do the bracket formulation correct. F given P or P given A or so a P given F or so on. So here we do F given P or P given F for the 2,000. So if I ask you, forget about the 5,000 now, we will explain it. P to F. So what is the formulation? What is the bracket will contain? So if we start with the bracket X, Y, I, N. In the chat box, how we will write the converting formulation for the 2000. F is known. ممتاز. Okay. I want you to write the bracket for the 2000. We want to convert the 2000 to year 0. يلا شباب. Okay, P given F 10%, 2000. 2000 هذه P given F 10 8. أحسنت. أسامة حجيلي يس. عبد العزيز البلادي ممتاز. عبد الصمد. If you mean P given F, okay. Yes. Yes. Umar, you mean that you multiply it with the 2000. Okay, but then you have to put the years is 8. So it will be 2000 multiplied with the P given F 8%, 10%, and for 8 years. It will be like that. So all we know how we convert the 2000, and it is easy because it's a single value. But for the 5000, it is also simple, but you have to just pay attention. Now, when you go to the tables, let's go to the tables. If we go to the tables, if we go to the tables and we see the P given A, where is P given A? Yes, it is here. When it says the number of years 1 to 2 until infinity, this means the number of the continuing years of the annual. يعني عدد سنوات الانيوال اللي ظاهرة عندي. Okay, what does that mean? خلينا نشوف. Let's go back to the slides. That's mean the number of years that where is the annual placed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it is for 8 years لأنه الانnual عندي was for 8 years. So when you find the present, you will find the present just a year before the 8 years. You cannot find it here directly because there is a gap, and in this gap there was no annual. So we cannot consider those 2 years because this annual value was not starting from year 1. If this annual starting from year 1, then you can say it is P given A for 10 years at 10%, and then you can find it immediately at year 0. But since it is start at year 3, you have to find it first at year 2, and when you find it at year 2, it will be a single value. You deal with it as you dealt with the 2000. So how we convert those? We will go to the table P given A for 10%, for 8 years. Why it is 8? Again, because this is representing the number of the annual value that appeared on how many years. It is 8, and if you count those arrows you will find them, it is 8. But when you find the present from annual, remember this golden rule, it is important. When you use the P given A, it is always the present 1 year ahead. إيش يعني 1 year ahead؟ يعني سنة سابقة. فمعناها in this case when we find the present from the annual here, you will find it at year 2, 1 year ahead. هذا المعنى ب 1 year ahead. You find it at year 2 in this case. When you find it at year 2, then you do P given F for 2 years. Why it is 2? Because now it is placed at year 2 and you want to find it at year 0. So 1 and 2 to find it at year 0. Okay? This is the converting from annual to present. When you want to convert from when you want to convert annual to present, you have to consider that the present always fall 1 year previous to the annual, and you have in the table you have to count the arrows of the annual that is representing the number of years you need them in the bracket of the formulation of P given A. Once you have it as a present value, you can deal with it as a single value. You can change it to the present or to the future with just one step converting. تفضل يا أحمد سؤالك. أحمد سؤالك. Yes. أحمد ما أسمعك. Did you open your mic or anyone here can hear?
دحين تمام يا دكتور؟ سامعني يا دكتور ولا لا؟ ولا الشباب سامعيني ولا لا؟
أيوة الآن أسمعك، تفضل.
الصوت واضح. ايوه
دكتور دحين متى افرق، يعني متى اعرف انه متى استخدم السنين كلها ومتى اعرف انه اخذ السنه اللي انا ابغاها الحين؟ يعني متى اخذ ال8 ومتى اوقف عند السنه اللي انا ابغاها؟
متى توقف عند ال8؟ Here the question asks you to find all the values at year 0. So you have to convert all the values appear in the cash flow to year 0. Whether they are appearing on 8 years or 9 years or 10 years. Here the annual start from year 3 until year 10. So you have to count all these years for the annual. But the 2000 was a single value لحالها، يعني قيمة لوحدها. You deal with that only as a single value. You have to convert it to the present. After you convert the 5000 annual to present and you convert the 2000 future to present, then you can add them all together.
طيب دكتور، يعني في اي حاله متى استفيد من العلاقه اللي هي القاعده حقت البي تو اي اللي هو 1 year ahead؟
Now here in this example, because here you have annual and you want to find the present at year 0, it is impossible to find a present from annual if there is a gap between those requested present and the given annual. يعني الانيوال بدأ من السنة الثالثة والpresent مطلوب في السنة 0. There is a gap year 1 year 2. Okay, At any time you find the present from annual, you will go 1 year ahead. 1 year ahead معناها سنة قبلها. يعني لما you find the value اللي هي هذه الفاليو we have 26,000 here, the one P2. P2 represent 1 year ahead. فأنت anytime you find the present from annual, you will find it في السنة قبل الانيوال. السنة أول سنة قبل الانيوال. clear؟
دكتور معلش عايز تفهم.
طيب صح. إيه؟ ايش هو اللي
ما قدرت افهم المثال.
The 5,000 here needs to be converted and found at year 0 as a present. The annual placed from year 3 to year 10 with the $5,000. How we convert the 5,000? We convert the 5,000 using P given A. What is the known is the A, and what is the unknown is the present. To find the present from the annual, you have to follow this statement when it says when you find the present from annual, it is always 1 year ahead of the first annual. إيش معنى هذا الكلام؟ البريزنت من الانيوال دائما يكون في سنة سابقة لأول سنة يظهر فيها الانيوال. Okay? So if we have already known that, that's mean when we want to find the present from the annual, which is equal 5,000, it will be placed at year 2. Why? Because the beginning of the annual was starting at year 3. بدأ معانا الانnual at year 3. And based on that rule, to find the present, it will be placed at year 2. When you find the present from the annual, you count the number of years where is the arrow of the annual. تعد عدد السنوات اللي ظهر فيها الانnual. How many years? 1. Until here you will find it will be 8. From here to here it is 8 years. So that's why we put P given A for 10% at N equal 8. And you multiply it with the 5,000. Now you found the value of the present at year 2. But in the question ask you to find the present at year 0. Now if I have the value of year 2, can I move it to year 0? As we did for the 2,000, you will do it here again for the 26,000 that you have just found. How we convert that? You convert it as a P given F for 10% for how many years? 1 and 2. 2 years, and using the exact percentage because it is applied for all. You look to that value in the table and you multiply it with the 26. You have already now the 22,000 that represent the annual at year 0. What you have to do at the end, you have to add also the 2,000 after you convert them at year 0. Remember, we cannot add values they are not at the same unit of time. As we said, ما نقدر نجمع الكيلو جرام والجرام مع بعض. We have to convert them to be at the same unit. At the unit here, the unit of time. So we put them all at year 0, then we can add them. So we converted the 2,000, and this was done by the students here in the class, so everyone knows how we convert the 2,000. If you don't understand, just follow back the previous example or ask your colleagues here who understood how we convert that. But for the 5,000, the 5,000 I have just explained how we convert it to present. After you convert it, you add them together. This is the converting of the 5,000, which is the 22,000, and this is the conversion of the 2,000, which is 933. If you add them all together, you get the present for all these values at year 0.
دكتور يعني ال 2000 هي كانت زيادة لسنة واحدة و5000 ل8 سنوات صح؟
2000 only was placed at year 8.
ايوه
and the
5000 في 8
5000 was
سنوات كلهم.
placed. Yes, 5000 يعني you can say it's like installments, أقساط, دفعات ثابتة 5000 from year 3 to year 10. لكن ال 2000 was a payment you have to pay it دفعة متأخرة ولا whatever at 2000 at year 8. Okay. طيب questions. Yes, why Hazim? It's a good question. Why we have to find it 0? Because the question says he wants to be at year 0. It could be the question asking to be found at year 2. So all what you have to do is just you stop here. You don't have to convert this part, this section, you don't need it. Then you will add the 26,000 plus to the 9. طبعا هذه 9 it has to be converted to year. How many years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So instead of 8, you will put 6 here. You convert the 2000 to year 2, and P2 will be exactly used as is, and then you add them all together. But the question asks you to find them at P0. Please, who have the mic on, please turn it off so the voice be clear to the other students. So the question asks to have the present at 0. It could be asking the present at year 1, or it could be asking the present at year 2. Try to solve this example at year 2, and let's do in the next class to check that if you understood the material or no. Try to solve it at year 2, and also try to do it at year 1, and see if you could understand the concept. The same exact example, you don't have to go. You will find other examples on the slides online to help you to understand the material more, but try to solve this example at year 2 and again at year 1. Okay? Hazim, that was the answer for your question. أسئلة تانية؟ Questions?
السلام عليكم دكتور. دكتور عندي سؤال. دحين المسافة ما بين $2000 ما بين البي 2 ما هي تعتبر 6 ولا 8؟
Can you say it again? السؤال مرة ثانية. المسافة ما بين
المسافة ما بين $2000 ما بين البي 2 نفسها اللي عند 2. كيف
نعم.
مكتوب هنا 8 وهي تعتبر 6 يعني؟
No. Wait. مين اللي بيسأل أول شيء؟ علي.
علي.
The question asks you to find P0. The P0, the distance or the number of years from P0 to year 8 is 8. And here when I was explaining the question, it could be not finding all the values at year 0. It could be asking all the values at year 2. In that case, it would be 6, not 8. But this is another example, يعني another scenario.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. فيصل ليش وضعنا n equal to okay ليش وضعنا n equal to okay when we convert all these values the annual to year 2 we didn't stop here. We have to continue. The question is asking to find all these values at year 0. To find them at year 0, you have to convert the value from 2 to 0. But now the value you have it at 2 is not annual anymore. Why? لأنك أنت حولت قيمة 5000 هذه الدفعات اللي كانت على 8 سنوات لقيمة واحدة which is 26,000. يعني لو قلت لك how much it will worth ال 5,000 every year from year 3 to year 10, at year 2 it will be 26,675. فهذه قيمة واحدة. So to find it at year 0 you need the converting using n equal 2, because you are moving from year 2 to year 0. عبد الإله تفضل.
السلام عليكم. أول دكتور اسمعني.
سامعك تفضل.
دحين الناتج اللي طلع لي بعد أول عملية حسابية اللي هي 5000 في B على A 10% 8. هذه تحول لي الدفعة 5000 المتساوي اللي دفعت على مدى 8 سنين، يصير هذا المجموع يروح إيش للسنة الثانية، صح ولا لا؟ اللي هي B2.
نعم صحيح.
اللي يجيني من البي 2 عبارة عن ايش؟ سنجل بيمنت، صح ولا لا؟ يصير اقدر احوله
صح.
بعدين بحريتي من قبل الفترة هذه، صح؟
صحيح.
بس كنت متأكد من هذه المعلومة. شكرا لك.
Yes, exactly. This is what I just explained to Faisal. Faisal, it was clear? Similar but not exactly. But the 5,000 is an exact payment, يعني installments, سواء كانت دفعات or whatever it is, that is similar to, yeah, similar to the payment that you have to do for the rentals. In the slides you will have online, you will see more examples. My advice to you, before we move on, I need you to read this material for today very carefully and try to practice those examples before we start continuing the examples, because the coming examples here are similar to the same we have just explained, but in a different scenarios. يعني this it can go to a further, except that slide, to further dimensions of type of problems. يعني هنا مساحة للأسئلة and imagination. You can bring your own cash flow next class, your own cash flow, and we can select one or two and we solve it here together. So now you see how the cash flow and how the values can be changed from the cash flow and be found. So you can all agree on one or two scenarios and we all can solve it here, and we will continue those examples definitely, but I want you to observe this material and digest it carefully before we move on. عشان ايش؟ يعني this practice is the pillar of the engineering economy chapters. إذا فهمتوا chapter ده correct وممتاز, chapter 5, 6, 7 and all the coming chapters will be just a practice in a different way or a different format. إذا ما فهمت هذا الشابتر ما حتفهم any chapters coming in the discourse. فأمانة يعني spend time in this chapter more than others because this is the foundation. تفضل يا فيصل. فيصل ما اسمعك، تفضل. فيصل الاد مود, when did you send it?
سامعني دكتور؟
Yes.
ايوه ارسلتها يمكن الاسبوع الماضي يوم الاثنين، وقال الطلب معلق، يعني لازم يقبل من
I don't have you on the list.
معلق.
Yes, I don't have you on the list. All the other students, they send me the request, I accepted. So make sure that if there is a way that you resend it again, يعني because all students, I never had this issue يعني with others. all the students they have sent the request, I always accept it. So make sure that it is being went through, or if you can cancel the request and request it again, or ask your colleagues to hand you all the material if there is an issue, and we can discuss that through the email. Okay.
طيب شكرا.
Yeah. طيب other questions until here.
دكتور لو لما ادرس في الشابتر هذا في الويكند وما فهمت شيء عاد اسالك في خدمتك في المنصه ذيك ولا ادمودك؟
منصة خدمتك هي للإرشاد الأكاديمي مش للمحاضرات، لكن ترسل لي إيميل، أرسل لي إيميل. وبالعكس أنا when you send me emails أنا ممكن أجمع كل الإيميلات المتشابهة اللي تكون has the similar questions و I answer them here in the lecture عشان الفائدة تعم للجميع كلهم. فبس لا
لأنه شابتر والله صعب، فبحاول أدرس لحالي إن شاء الله أفهمه.
أنا this is my advice please.
إيه بحاول أشوف السلايدات تاني والأشياء دي.
Yeah, read the slides here and the slides online. As I said, the geometric اللي هو gradient هذا for your own reading. That's why I exclude it here. You don't have to worry about that in the exam. لكن the others example or additional examples, yeah, practice them. Inshallah, in the coming class, you have now at least know the foundation in this chapter. لو أنا مشيت زيادة أنتوا still زي اللي فاهم ومو فاهم، اللي حيأكد المعلومة هذه when you read more and practice، عشان لما نجي نبدأ هنا نحل أسئلة تكون advanced شوية. أنا لو حليت سؤال بس شوية حتكونوا لسه ما فهمتوا الأساس، لكن لما تفهموا الأساس أقدر أطلع بأسئلة مستواها تكون أصعب شوية، حتكونوا أنتوا فاهمين الأساسيات. وأنا again this chapter بالنسبة لي أهم chapter في الكلاس، فإذا ما فهمتوه ما حتفهموا ولا شيء بعد كده، وإذا فهمتوه الباقي حيكون إن شاء الله جدا بسيط عليكم. بالنسبة سؤال جاني كثير اللي هو بخصوص الشرح باللغة الإنجليزية. هذا السؤال أنا في كل فصل فمتعود عليه. when you enter the College of Engineering, enter the college that offer the program in English. فأول حاجة ما هو إحنا ما ضحكنا عليك، ما خميناك على قولهم. أنت ما جيت هنا وتفاجأت أنتوا تدرسوا إنجليزي. أنت you enter the college that their curriculum written in English, their references and material it's in English. فإنه I teach you in Arabic هذا contradicting with the honesty حقت المهنة حقتي with the also the خلينا نقول الprofession حقك. When you graduate, students they ask us to provide them a letter that they have been studied in an English by English language. وهذا الشيء كيف نوفره إذا إحنا ما كنا بنحققه فعلا. أرجو منكم إنه you understand that إنه طالما هي الكلاسز لمواد هندسية فالجزئية هذه تكلمت عنها قبل كده، إنه ما يمكن إن أنا أعطيك ما أقدم لك ما أنا أتمنى المادة تكون مراجعنا بالعربي وتدريسنا يكون بالعربي، لكن طالما المناهج هي والكريكولوم تبنى بلغة إنجليزية فيقدم بنفس اللغة. الآن أنت بتدرس كم من الإنجليش للبرنامج هذا، ليش؟ إذا أنت ما كنت حتستخدمه في البرنامج. فأي قصور الطالب بيواجهه حيواجهه أكثر في المواد المتقدمة أكثر اللي هي جاية في المستقبل. فأنا أرجو من الجميع إنه فعلا يشتغل على النقطة هذه بالذات في فترة الإجازات وفترة الصيف، لأنها حتحتاجها في الكورسز اللي جاية أكثر من الإيكونومي قدام. بالذات أنا I'm talking to the industrial engineering students، type of courses طلاب بيدخل عندنا مفكر إنه المواد عندنا سهلة أو البرنامج سهل، بيتفاجأ إنه كمية اللغة اللي عندنا قد يعني تواجه عندهم معوقات في استيعاب التوبيك ولا فهم المادة. فأنا أرجو من الجميع يعني يستوعب النقطة هذه. إحنا هنا بنقدم الشيء اللي we promise you to deliver. when you enter this college شايف إنه الكريكولم موجود حتى أونلاين، موجود باللغة الإنجليزية، الديسكريبشن حق المواد باللغة الإنجليزية، ريفرنس بالإنجليش. فإن أنا أقدم حاجة بالعربي معناه إحنا قاعدين نناقض الشيء اللي قاعدين يعني بنكتبه عن البرنامج. والطلاب لما بيتخرجوا بيطلبوا مننا letters إنه إحنا we have studied in English يعني by English. فطيب إحنا كيف نقدم لكم الليتر هذه إذا إحنا فعلا ما كنا وغير إنه تخصصك ومهنتك حتستلزم منك فهم اللغة الإنجليزية بشكل كبير، لأنه تعاملك حيكون اعتماد عليه كبير بها. الدمج بين اللغتين هذا يعني هو لا حصلت هذه ولا هذه، يعني أنا يكون الشرح كله باللغة العربية يا يكون بالإنجليزي. حتحتاج اللغة الإنجليزية في التخصص، أنت لسه الآن دوبكم أول ترم في البرنامج أكثر ما تتوقع. فأنا نصيحتي لكم إنه تشتغلوا على موضوع اللغة من الآن بالقراءة، بمتابعة فيديوز على الأونلاين، عندكم اليوتيوب مراجع كثيرة، لكن لا تتوقع إن المواد اللي جاية حتواجه نفس الصعوبة هذه اللي بتواجهوها الآن. موجودة في السلايدات اللي عندك يا صالح، لكن أنا حرجع لك موجود عندكم. هذا السلايد اللي كنت أتكلم عنه. فرجاء يعني خلينا نقول زي لما تيجي تقول لي أنا ضعيف في الماثيماتكس فأبغاك تساعدني وتحل معايا في الماثيماتكس، أنا ما أقدر أساعدك في شيء هو بيسك عشان تدخل الكلية حقت الهندسة. كلية الهندسة من الريكوايرمنتس حقتها إنك تكون أنت في الماث والساينس بشكل عام أدفانس. فلما تيجي تكون ضعيف حتلقى إنه ضعفك هذا حينعكس على درجاتك في المقررات الهندسية. طيب بالنسبة للسؤال ده يا عمر، طيب أشرح لك ليش مباشرة ما بتطلع الشعبة 3 سكشن، لأنه عندنا 2 IE وشعبة الإلكتريكال. إنشاء الشعبة يكون لازم من واحدة من الشعب هذه، ما حقدر أنشئ 3 روابط لايف ل3 شعب مختلفة فأنا حظهر في شاشة واحدة منهم في الأخير، ما حقدر أظهر في ال3، أو حيصير عندكم أنتوا ضعف في عملية الكونكشنز ما بين الشعب هذه. فلما نظهر على شعبة واحدة هي كانت IEA بتترسل كل الفيديوهات. أنا this is what I did يعني last lecture عفوا الصباح أو أمس، أرسل الروابط على الإد مودو. بمجرد ما تتسجل المحاضرة حبدأ أحط لكم هي موجودة على الإد مودو تلقاها مباشرة موجودة. أوكي طيب والآن موجودة يا عمر، المحاضرة حقت يوم الاثنين كلها موجودة على الإد مودو، 3 محاضرات أنا رفعت موجود. طيب أنا أتأكد، قد يكون في بعض واحد من الروابط غلط، حتأكد من طيب شكرا على التنبيه، حتأكد منها عمر وحرجع لكم فيها اليوم إن شاء الله. أنا أتأكد إن اللي في الإد مودو كلها موجودة لكل المحاضرات. طيب انتهت الأسئلة وانتهت المحاضرة، إن شاء الله بإذن الله تعالى الأسبوع القادم نفس الشابتر 2. إلى إن شاء الله لقاء، أنا قادم، أتمنى لكم كل التوفيق.